outside of that, like you said, we kick the ball with the wind at our back, kick it out of the end zone so they get the ball to 25, and first play from scrimmage, they go 75 yards for a touchdown. So, but that's one play. You can't all of a sudden fold the tent just because someone scored on you so quickly. What if it was the opening kickoff that was inbounds and they took that for a touchdown? So you got to be resilient there, and I think our guys were, and we battled back and forth a little bit. There was a couple punts over the next couple possessions, and then we had a blocked punt, which put us in a perfect opportunity to have a score, at the 25-yard line going in their end of the field. And, again, back to what I just said about Murphy's Law. We lose a yard on first down. We drop a snap on second down, so we lose 6 more yards. We have a completed pass but only get back to original line of scrimmage on third down. So on fourth down, we're kicking a field goal, 41-yard field goal attempt, and the wind's at our back, so it's not unreachable. Plenty of leg on it, and it goes wide right. So perfect time to not only maybe tie up the game, but at least get to 7-3. And we have 3 poor plays, 3 different ways, and we missed the field goal. So, and then they went back and forth a little bit. They scored more. We had a fumble on our own 45, which set up more points for them early in the half. And then we got the ball down at first and goal at the 5-yard line just before half to try to gain some momentum back going into halftime, knowing we're getting the kickoff coming out of half. And unfortunately, we came up empty there. First and goal at the 5. We take a loss. Then we get a lot of that back. We're back at the 5. Next play on third down, we have a run play. We get to the 2.5-yard line. Instead of kicking the field goal for 3 points at the time, it's 24-0. We decided to go for the touchdown, and probably going to go for 2 right there, to be honest with you, to try to get within 24-8. And we come up empty again. So now going into halftime, it's 24-0. And we just did not execute well. And it wasn't any one thing. It was just everybody kind of taking a turn at different times. A missed block here, a dropped pass there, a missed gap fit there on defense, and those types of things. And, if all 11 guys do their job, we're probably going to be fine. But when one guy's out of sync, it causes for that 75-yard gain, through the B gap. We had 2 guys in the A gap, and the B gap is open. Our corner comes down and covers his gap in the C gap. But when your corner's coming down the way we ask them to, and it gets through the line of scrimmage, now you're losing that third-level defender, and next thing you know, it's off to the races. So there's a lot of things that are fixable. The thing is, it just didn't go our way for the whole 4 quarters. We never really got it turned around. We never really got momentum. And, Zach Bednarczyk, our quarterback, who started off pretty well with some completions and those types of things and moved the ball, we just didn't get in the end zone, came out, landed on his throwing arm again the wrong way in the third quarter. And then, we had to go with Kadir Ishmael, our freshman, for the remainder of the game. And, again, moved the ball a little bit. We actually got down within scoring position at the end of the game and came up empty again. So there's some things that we need to fix, some correctable things, like I said. But as long as the attitude, effort, and those types of things are there, then, we're excited to move forward and hopefully put together a game plan this week coming up.
And, Coach, we talk a lot about, the importance of third down, both offensively and defensively. But you mentioned every week, I think what was really important, it seemed like you guys really struggled on first down a little bit offensively. Like you talk about the 1-yard loss, the bad snap, those kind of plays. It's tough to convert third downs when it's 3rd and 9, 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12 all day, and try to get yourself, to down and distance that's manageable. It seemed like the offense had some issues with that this week.
No doubt. Like we talked about, we just had too many errant things go wrong. Like we had 2 snaps. They weren't the best snaps, but they were catchable, but we didn't catch them. And then 2 snaps that were more at their feet. So there's 4 plays right there that before they even start don't have a chance to be positive plays. And, yes, definitely, when you're 3rd and double digits or 3rd and 9 and things like that, that definitely narrows your playlist of what you're able to choose from, and makes it a lot harder to manage than make those first downs. So, and on the flip side, when you have a team that can gain 4 yards on a run or something like that, and they're getting those 3rd and 2s, then they're going to be more manageable on their side. Now, our defense did a good job getting them off the field on 3rd down this past week. I think they were 3 for 12 or something like that, so that's not great as well. But we just couldn't keep the sticks moving, and ultimately we got to get the ball in the end zone.
Yeah.
We didn't put any points on the board, and that's really frustrating when that happens, especially when we had first and 10 at the 25, first and goal at the 5, and later in the game we also got first and goal inside the 10. So, you know, you need to come up with points when you have those opportunities. You know, one of these days I'd like to see one of our block punts be able to pick up, scoop, and score. Let's get a defensive special team score, and maybe that'll get us going in the right direction. But, you know, the offense just has to become more consistent in the execution. You can't have one guy miss because that could deflate the whole play. And
you talk about, you know, getting a short field, a no field's even better if you can pick one up and scoop it. But you talk about that, and I think what you mentioned, you know, on the defensive side, if you're having too many 3 and outs, you're putting your defense back out there a lot. And it seemed like you mentioned that, you know, 2 guys in the A gap, nobody in the B gap, that New Hampshire was able to break some longer runs. Obviously, we talked about the 75, but some longer runs than your defense has given up all year.
Yeah, that was you know, frustrating to see. They had a guy who I think ended up being the CA Rookie of the Week with his yardage that he had against us. And when you add one play for 75 yards, that's going to add up yardage pretty quickly, right? No matter how many more carries he gets. But, you know, and it's not really guys not doing their job as much as what I think it is guys almost trying to do a little too much. You know, he's in his gap. Then the back kind of tilts his shoulders like he's going to cut back. So I come out of my gap to try to go think I'm going to go make a play. And next thing you know, he kept it front side and he didn't bend it all the way back to where I thought he was going. And those types of things. And it's just, you know, we got to keep our eyes up. We got to keep our feet. And, you know, we had too many missed tackles as well. So it's as much of the do your fundamental job.
The coaches sometimes like, do your 1/11th, don't try to do 2/11th, and that leaves openings.
Do your fundamental job, and everything else will take care of itself. And, again, you're playing good people. They're going to make some plays from time to time. You can't take away from your opponent. They came ready to play, and they executed more consistently, and they did their job better than we did on that particular day. So you got to give them the credit as well. But, you know, the bottom line is if you have the A gap, cover the A gap. Then someone else will have the B gap and all the way down the line. And then, you know, on pass plays, if we're in man, cover your guy. Yeah. You know what I mean? If we're in zone, cover your third, cover your quarter, cover your half, whatever we're playing behind it. So, you know, it's just a matter of let's get back to the fundamentals, which is what? Blocking, tackling, for quarterbacks throwing, for receivers catching. If we do that consistently, we should be okay.
All right, Coach, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with our first special guest of the night right after this. It's Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Back with more after this on 610 ESPN. Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. We're joined by our special guest coach. You've done a great job lining guests up all year. And I appreciate bringing one of my favorite Villanova football players of all time, the class of 2010, Matt Caesar. Matt, welcome. We appreciate you joining us today. And Matt obviously played football and baseball at Villanova, went on to have a professional career and still in the process of obviously a world championship with the Cubs, moved on to the San Diego Padres. So, Matt, what are you doing with your offseason right now?
Thanks for having me on the show. Brings back great memories. As far as the offseason, I'm just, trying to get healthy and strong and relax a little bit, that's for sure.
Yeah, those baseball seasons are pretty long. They play a lot more games than the football guys. I'm sure it still has a big wear and tear on the body and the mind, right?
I hear you.
Big mental wear down as well as physical wear down. But, yeah, we're super excited to have Matt here. And, Matt, thanks for joining us. We're really happy that he could join us. And one of the best athletes we've ever had in our program. To have a guy who can play multiple sports at this level is amazing. So why don't we start here, Matt? Right? We recruited you out of Lower Cape May, and you guys are down there. And I think Coach Gaudry at the time was the baseball coach.
Yep.
And he kind of talked to us about you. He might have been recruiting you even earlier than we were. Would that be an accurate statement?
Yeah. So I remember I was doing camps in the summertime, and I don't know if you remember it. I was all over the place, and
right.
Villanova was actually the last stop, and my dad and I were driving up, and he had called me, and you guys had offered me a full scholarship already. He's like, "Hey Matt, what do you think about giving or getting 40% scholarship?" And I was like, "Coach, I don't think you're gonna have to worry about that.
Right.
I already accepted a full football scholarship and he was ecstatic, obviously, because
right.
he didn't have to give out a scholarship anymore.
He could save his money.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
He could save his money. But
so yeah, it was great. Like I said, I had so much fun playing baseball and football at Villanova, and this brings back great memories.
Yeah, your career was unbelievable. So, Matt came to our summer camp. We offered him a scholarship. Coach Gaudry, also wanted Matt to be there. So what we tried to do, which we found out we couldn't do, baseball has an early signing period, and football at the time was all the way to February. So we're like, can we sign Matt to the baseball scholarship just to, lock him into us right now, and then, worry about the football part later? But then, no, you can't do that. So we had to wait. Now we have the early signing period in December, so that helps us from that perspective. But Matt came in, played as a freshman for football.
Yep.
Then had a sports hernia injury and missed your freshman baseball year.
Yep.
So Coach Gaudry wasn't excited about that part, right? And then sophomore year, obviously, continued to play football. And then your freshman year baseball, you went in there and lit it up. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you were like one of the top hitters not only in the league but in the country. And you made freshman All-American, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Baseball was honestly a blur to me in college. I'm like, 2009 national champions. That's what my focus is on.
Well, I guess when you hit 447, everything's a blow, which I just saw in your junior year before you moved on. But Coach, I wanted to ask you, just being at the department and working there, and then you had obviously a huge decision in your life to make to say, hey, you're going to get drafted in the NFL, you're going to get drafted in Major League Baseball, and it came a point in your time you decided that the Cubs made an offer to you to say, I'm going to go and play baseball and say, hey, I'm not going to concentrate on football anymore. Talk about that thought process. What went through you and your family's mind to make that decision?
It was extremely tough because I love football. I still love football, and I wish I could play both. I just don't think my body would hold up too much. But I was down in Florida training for the Combine and the Senior Bowl, and had talks with Mike Mayock to see kind of where I would end up in the NFL draft. And so we had breakfast 2 or 3 times, and we kind of slotted my around and what kind of money I would make. And he said, Matt, I watch these guys every day, and if you can get that kind of money in baseball, he's like, your body is just going to last so much longer. And he's like, obviously you won't have to deal with the concussions or knees or whatever. Baseball is still a long grind, but it's different than the football grind. So we came up with that decision. I was still down, wanting to play football, and then the GM flew down. The GM of the Cubs flew down. They offered me a deal, and it was a deal that I couldn't not take.
An offer you couldn't refuse.
Yeah. So the next day I flew back home and got my degree and went on to spring training.
Wow.
And that was only about a week or so, 10 days before the Senior Bowl.
Yeah. So I had to make a decision
right.
February 13th. And he came down the 12th, and it was just like perfect timing on his part,
Yeah, they didn't want him to play in the All-Star game. They didn't want to play in the Reese's
Obviously,
Senior Bowl.
If they're going to invest in you, they don't need you blowing a knee out, running an out pattern for them or something like that, God forbid. But you talk about the grind of baseball in terms of, as a layperson looking at it, say, well, he can be I guess, mid to high round draft pick in the NFL, and you go play right away. In baseball, you're going off to some small town in Florida, they're going to rookie league or going to A-ball, and then really having to produce and prove your way all the way up through the rank. Talk about that grind in baseball. You see it physically in football, but the mental grind of baseball going from rookie ball to AA to AAA, and obviously an opportunity in the major leagues that you've had.
Yeah, it's definitely a grind. I think the grind is not necessarily the body grind of it, but the mental grind. Just showing up every day and having to produce every day, and knowing that I could have played in the NFL and would have been playing in front of thousands of people, and now I'm playing in front of 6 people in Florida. So it was tough, but I love the game, and I had a lot of confidence because my focus has always been on football. And I knew once I, put that focus into baseball, I'd be able to do good things.
Yeah, and he, how many? I didn't realize there was so many steps in baseball. I mean, I knew about AAA and then AA and single A. I didn't know there was a low single A and then a high single A and all those things. Because you were in how many different cities/towns? How many different places were you at within the Cubs organization?
So
you were in Iowa somewhere at one point?
Right. Once you're drafted, you go to the Arizona Fall League, or Arizona League, the AZL it's called, and then you go to low A. AZL, then short season. Then you go to low A, then high A, then double A, and then triple A. So there's 6 stops before you get to the major leagues.
And those are usually bus trips.
Yeah.
They're not
bus
charter flights.
Yeah, they're bus trips until AAA, and AAA are you're even waking up at 3:30 to catch a 5:30 flight.
Right. And I saw he did really well. And some of those small town leagues. I remember looking up one time, and I'm gonna make this up because I can't remember what it was, but Matt had a really good series one time, and he was like the Billy Bob General Store player of the game or something like that. So it was so it takes a lot to get through those things mentally, and then obviously you made it to the bigs, and you have the ring to prove it.
Oh yeah,
all the way up there with the Cubs and everything like that. So we jump forward to that. I want to get back. I don't know if we're ready to take a break.
Yeah, we got time
or anything like that. But I want to get back to the 2009 and 2010 football experiences that you had with us. So I was kind of building up to that when we talked about your sophomore year football redshirt freshman baseball season that you did phenomenal there. And then we get to your junior year with all the other guys, Whitney and Dempsey and Ben and Klaus and all the guys. You guys are juniors. And at that point, as coaches, we thought we were going to be pretty good, and we were really looking forward to, maybe winning the whole thing when you guys are finally seniors. But instead we do it your junior year.
Yeah.
And that was really exciting, and Matt comes out, and not only does he take us to a phenomenal year of 14-1 overall in 2009 national champs, but he ended up being the most valuable player, I guess most outstanding player, they call it these days, most MOP instead of MVP of the game. So give us your feelings of that championship run, the game that we had there against Montana, because, when you watch highlights of that game, you're all over the highlight film, and then obviously being handed the most valuable trophy at the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I always remember this, and Joe Price was my recruit, or I was his host, or however it's called, and he asked me, what's the difference between Villanova and any other school, and I said, we're a family here. The camaraderie here is like I've never been a part of in my life. I mean, how it was. We were there every summer. That whole class was there every summer. Getting better not only in the school, but we're lighting our load during the season, and we were there every morning at 6 a.m. training with Coach Galick.
Right.
So for me, the camaraderie and the family and the bond we had was tremendous, and there was no game that we didn't think we were going to win. Even like you said, we were down. I think it was 14-3 or 9-3 at halftime.
Yeah, something like that. They threw the ball like all over the place.
Yeah.
Mariani, who made it to the league, had 8 catches or something in the first half, and I don't think he had any in the second half.
And there was nobody cared because we knew we were going to win that game no matter what. And the one game we lost was a fluke. It was in New Hampshire, and the wind was blowing like 90 miles per hour. I don't know if you remember that.
Right. You paid them back pretty well in the playoffs.
Yeah, we dominated them when they came to us. But,
in the snow.
Yep,
that
dominated.
Was a snow game.
And then, I remember Dempsey had a fumble recovery touchdown in the first play of the game.
First play, their quarterback dropped it, and we scooped and scored. And then Barbaro ran like it was the best day weather-wise that he could ever have. He was a true snow player.
For the most part, it was just we were so tight-knit that, nothing was going to get between us.
Right.
Coach, we're going to come back with some more memories of that great 09 run. We'll talk about Matt Caesar in 10, where unfortunately got nicked up a little bit, or I think it might have been back-to-back for you guys. So we're going to take a quick break. It's Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Back with more after this on 610 ESPN. Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. We're joined by class of 2010. I guess you were a whiteout, by a slot guy, played a little running back, played a little quarterback. We'll call him a versatile athlete because he played 2 sports as well. Matt Caesar joining us here. And we were talking at the break a little bit about that 2009 run, and we talked a lot about the Montana game. But how about the semifinal game, you guys? Villanova Stadium, probably the coldest I've ever been in that building over the 30 years I've been going to watch Villanova football. And that William & Mary game, you guys are down late. And there's a big 4th down play that Mac makes for you. And it kind of really just turned the whole momentum in the game. Matt, you remember it?
Yeah. It was a fake punt, and I had the option to throw or run. And I don't know how they didn't know that, there was a trick play coming.
He's not normally in the punt formation, so we sneak him in.
He does a lot of things for you. He didn't punt much.
We sneak him in there, right? Like, they're not going to notice Matt Caesar with the season he's been having up to that point in time. So we sneak him in there and direct snap to Matt, and he's going to go and either, like you said, throw it or run it, and he ran it and got the first down.
Yep. And I remember Harv was the one I was going to throw it to, and he realized I was going to run. He had a huge block there too. It's crazy. I remember like it was yesterday.
Yeah, that was a crazy run because we won the league, got the automatic bid, so we had the home game advantage, home field advantage, which was great. But we still had to play 2 other CA opponents. We just talked about New Hampshire,
who had beaten you by a point, I believe, up there earlier in the year.
And we lost to them, and it was a crazy snow game, and we were able to, take it to them pretty good. And then we had to face William & Mary, who was very good.
Yeah.
They were a really good team. And then we had another play where Matt took 60-some yards, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was a trap.
You know, it was a trap play we had. He was in the wildcat quarterback position. You said we put him all over the place, like you just said in the opening. So direct snap to Matt. They showed blitz. We had a check that we were going to go to if they showed that blitz, and next thing you know, he's running down the left sideline.
Coach was the offensive line coach then, and all week he was saying it's going to be a touchdown because they would always go 0 against us when I was in the Wildcats because they would just bring everybody.
Yep.
And sure enough, man, they were set up for failure as the week started.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing with the Wildcat formation, or when you have a running quarterback. You know, if they're going to blitz 6, there's 5 to cover. They're covering the other 5. The 5 linemen are free. Who's covering the 11th guy? You know, so he's flying down the sideline for a 60-some yard gain, and that really propelled us into the championship game. And like Matt said earlier, even though we were down at halftime, there was really no panic at all in the locker room. Everyone just felt like we're going to win this game. These guys aren't as good as some of the guys we played in our own league. And that, again, that's no disrespect to Montana because they've done their share of winning in that program as well, and they've won their national championships, so on. So, no disrespect to them, but we just felt we were truly battle-tested, and our guys had so much confidence, and as Matt was saying in the segment before, the trust in each other and the tightness of the group and the brotherhood they've formed over the years has been just, real great confidence builders, and they just knew they could count on each other to make their play and get the job done.
And fast forward to your senior year, you guys honestly go on one of the great playoff runs in Villanova football history. You go to App State, you go down to Texas, and you win a couple of great games. You go all the way out to Eastern Washington. If you guys had frequent flyer miles, you'd be flying for the rest of your life for free. They sent you everywhere that year. But unfortunately, you guys Chris was banged up pretty good at quarterback late in the year. Matt had been nicked up during the year. Just to win it all, you need a little bit of luck in terms of health and some other things. But talk about that great run. You guys had a great run that year as well.
Yeah, that was
that Eastern Washington setup was just bad. We were taking finals. That was just a mess.
Right.
It's
unfortunately, and you ended up turning the ball over, I think, 6 times in the game, and it's a one-score game late. It was a heck of a football game. But I remember you guys going down App State. I think App State was the dominant program at the time in FCS or 1AA, and you guys just went down there and handed it to them pretty easily.
We started at Stephen F. Austin down there in Texas, and, it was really crazy. First of all, we had Matt miss a good part of the season due to an injury. So, had we had Matt, maybe we win a couple more games. Maybe we get first-round game at home or something like that, as opposed to traveling the way we did. You already touched base on the amount of travel we had. So the Stephen F. Austin trip was probably the most difficult, even though it was the close, because we went to the airport. Our charter was late.
Yep.
So we're sitting on the bus at the terminal for 2 hours. Then it's a 2-hour flight, then a 2-hour bus ride. So that trip really got extended. The next week we go to Boone, South Carolina, North Carolina.
Yeah, North Carolina.
And North Carolina. And
Nacogdoches, is that where you were in Texas?
Nacogdoches, Texas. And then we go play App State, who's a premier program, like you said at the time, Steve, and they've won their share of championships as well. And we stayed at a chalet. Some chalet up there in the mountains. And the bus ride we had up there.
There was snow all over the place too, right? Yeah.
And the bus ride we had to get there was crazy. So that was the easiest trip, to be honest with you, was flying from here to Seattle to go play Eastern Washington. It was a 5-hour flight, direct flight. The hotel was 20 minutes from the airport. So that was probably the easiest trip. But it was just the cumulative trips and travel and all the stuff you guys had to go through. Plus they're taking exams.
And those guys go on and beat Delaware for the championship, a team you guys had already handled, not easily, but you handled during the year. So you're probably a play or two away from going back-to-back.
That would have been real interesting because it would have been us against Delaware, 2 guys from the same league, and that was the first year they moved the championship game to Frisco, Texas.
Right.
So it would have been 2 CAA teams playing out in Texas, which would have not made too much sense.
You could have played it right at the link, and everyone would have been happy.
That's true.
Exactly right. But, Matt was, just phenomenal athlete for us. He did so many different things. And then I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, so after your junior year we won the championship, you then played summer baseball.
No, I didn't play summer baseball. After the championship, I played baseball that year for the school.
Okay.
Then I was drafted.
Right.
Yeah.
You were drafted after your third year, right?
So I was drafted in May or June 7th.
Right.
And then I went and played in July.
Right.
Came back August 7th to
play for your senior year with us.
Yep, you are correct.
Right. So, just think of the wear and tear on Matt from that perspective, playing professional summer league baseball.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
then
I think it kicked my butt a little bit.
And then coming in and trying to play a CAA schedule his senior year, and that's challenging.
Yeah.
That's really challenging, obviously. And
it was a freak accident on how I got hurt. I had the 2 high ankle sprains on a player playing Penn, and I was in the Wildcat, and I just cut back, and the lineman just kind of fell on me. So it wasn't even like it was a muscle injury or anything. It was just just a freak accident. And then I tried to come back early for Maine, which I shouldn't have done.
Right.
But and I got hurt again. I practiced, and then we had that week off, and then we're playing JMU, and I couldn't get back for JMU, and then was able to get back for a little bit in Delaware. Yeah,
got you back at the end, and then had you obviously for the run that we just talked about through the playoffs. And thankfully we had you there to make that run and allow us to come close to getting back to back.
It was fun.
Yeah,
App State was a fun game.
It sure was. They had really good fans, and the snow was pushed off the field to the side, so there was mounds of snow on the sideline and those types of things. So it was a great run, and you guys really showed like we already talked about, the camaraderie and the togetherness of a team. I'm sure you stay in touch with some of those guys to this day.
Yeah.
I know Joe Price talks about coming to your baseball games over the years when you're.
All those guys are great, man. Like I said, we had such a close knit with the whole staff. I keep in touch with Ben, Weave, Terry, Earl, always talking to Witt, Demps, all those guys. We lived together for 4 years pretty much, so there's no reason not to be in contact.
And like you said, when you're at this level and you're doing the summer training, you're with each other year round.
No doubt.
You hardly ever go home.
And I wouldn't have changed it for anything. Right. It was awesome.
No, that's great.
And it's one of the resounding things we hear. We've had, we had Brian Westbrook on a couple of weeks ago. We've had Brian Finner on. We've had current players on. It's what Matt just mentioned, that family bond. That you come to Villanova for 4 years to play, but it's a 40-year relationship. You just stay a part of these guys, and these special memories they were able to share. It's really unique to your program and what Villanova stands for as a university. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. We'll bring Matt back for one more segment. We're going to have our play-by-play announcer Ryan Fannin join us as well. I'm sure he's got plenty of good Matt Caesar memories that he'll share with us when we get him on the air. It's Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Back with more after this on 610 ESPN. Welcome back to Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. We're joined by Matt Caesar, and I think we have Ryan Fannin on the line, the Villanova play-by-play announcer. You with us, Ryan?
Yes, great to be with you guys tonight.
Great to be with you. Well, before I get to your favorite Matt Caesar moments, I wanted to talk to Matt a little bit. We were talking during the break, and Matt, I follow you on Twitter, and I see you've become quite an artist. Is that something you just started with, or is that something you had as a youth, and you just kind of now got an opportunity to get out there and do some beautiful things?
Yeah, so I've been doing it for a long time. My dad would sit and paint or draw or carve when I was little, and I would just sit by his recliner and just watch him do it. So I was like brought up doing that kind of stuff, and I took art classes all throughout high school and grade school, and one of the reasons why I started was to raise a little money for the foundation. And it was a hit, so I could just continue to do it, and all the majority of the proceeds always go back to the foundation, where we raise awareness for bone marrow. We piggyback on Coach Talley, and we do a lot of stuff in the community and raise money for our community to give to just people who need it. Anybody who needs it, we usually take care of.
That's great.
It is a great cause. And you mentioned the bone marrow. Actually, Matt was a donor, and there was a great story on E60, and you and the young girl, you were able to help. And have you been able to keep in touch with her as she grows?
Yeah. So there was another E60 out. I wasn't able to be in touch with her for 4 years, but ESPN was able to find her, and I guess they were moving place to place because they were they had to leave Ukraine because of the war going on. So they were immigrants, and they were like refugees in Israel. Then they moved from Israel to France, so there's a bunch of stuff. They're trying to get their citizenship, and they just want to find a place to stay. It's tough. It's tough.
That was a great story.
Yeah,
I've seen both E60s, and
obviously
congratulations to you, and congratulations on your foundation as well.
Yeah, thank you.
I know you have a lot of passion for that, and it's been going really well. And your artwork, you sell that stuff to raise money for that, so that's tremendous. Ryan, fan man, good to have you here tonight, buddy.
I'll tell you, I've been looking forward to coming on with you guys, and just had a chance to listen to some of the show before I came on, and those memories of that run in 2009 to the championship in Chattanooga, the road to Chattanooga. I remember all the years talking about with you, Coach Ferrante and Coach Talley and everybody about, can we get to Chattanooga? Can we play for a title? And we shut down Chattanooga. The final year ever, the championship game held there for Villanova. And, one thing I was just thinking about that game, and Steve had just said about, the memories of Matt Caesar. When Montana scored with just over a minute to go in the game, and Villanova had to run out the clock. And the onside kick, I remember we all felt the nerves of Montana had cut it to 23-21. Villanova had to make sure that Montana didn't get the onside kick. And then when Villanova was able to recover, I always remember Matt Caesar because he was the closer. Once that onside kick, we were never going to give them the chance to get the ball back. But Matt was just going to get that first down we had to get to be able to eventually run out the clock. And then his explosive run that you guys talked about against William & Mary in the third quarter on that 8-degree night at Villanova Stadium when we beat William & Mary 14-13. And when he scored on that play, it was like, there he is. Superman's going to bring us back.
Yeah, you remember a lot more stuff than I do, fan man, and that's awesome. I love your attention to detail and those types of things, and that's just great. Hey, for our listeners that are listening, I know you used to host this show with Coach Talley, and now Steve and I are doing it, but how many years have you been announcing for our program?
So I did student radio undergrad, and when I graduated in '93, I got one very lucky break. The color analyst, Paul Baradelli, former player, moved to take a coaching job. And Coach Talley had said, Ryan, well, you're looking for some letters of recommendation. Why don't you throw your name in the hat here? You're only 22 years old. It's a long shot, but we'll see if maybe something could develop with you, maybe moving from the student radio to the commercial network. And I'll never forget, 1 month after I graduated, I got the call. They said, we're going to give you a chance. And now 26 years later,
wow,
with the commercial network, still doing my dream job.
Wow.
Oh, that makes him old.
Yeah, wow. I mean,
26 years. God bless you.
It was long. This is my 31st year here, and I knew it was a long time, but gosh, I didn't know it was almost as long as I've been here. So, Ryan, obviously, we call you Ryan the Fan Man Fannin, and everyone loves your voice, and we're going to, before we get off this thing, we're not ready to get off yet, but we're going to make you do your signature, saying at the end of this whole thing. But I know you just shared some of the things with Matt Caesar's memories that you had from the Montana game and the William Mary game. Is there anything else that comes to mind, in reference to Matt that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I just think that the will to win, being around the program for all these years, the competitive fire of certain players that is so evident on the field and off the field, and you just watch it develop. And I just remember that, when you think of the greatest competitors in Villanova football history, that's what I just think about anytime somebody brings up Matt Caesar. There was no way that he was going to be on a team that was not going to reach their potential. And, Steve had just mentioned a couple moments ago, you had the health issue in the Eastern Washington semifinal game in 2010. I'm convinced if you didn't get hurt in that game in the second half, Villanova would have played and beat Delaware and won back-to-back titles. So, just really, Matt had so many great plays on the field, but his leadership and the way his guys on that team were so tight, and they did everything on and off the field, all that stuff, people talk about it, but it matters. And Matt was just a great, great leader. But his competitive fire and desire to win, to me, is as high as any football player I've ever been around at Villanova in my 30 years, going back to my freshman year in college.
And Ryan, what you just referenced, right? The drive, the determination, the dedication, all those intangible things that you just mentioned that those special athletes do possess, and that's why they make it. That's why the Matt Caesars make it to the NFL Combine or Senior Bowl, and then obviously into the MLB, or the Brian Westbrooks make it to the NFL. They all possess those things regardless of what level they're playing at our level. And I'm going to let Matt share with you the things we were just talking about off the air, because he still has those disciplines. Matt, why don't you tell everybody, you're probably going to be leaving here and getting home past your bedtime because of the intensity and the discipline that you still possess to this day. Why don't you give everyone an idea as to what your day consists of? Because you were just sharing that with us, and I'm like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, Villanova football instilled a lot in me, and one of the biggest things it instilled in me is having discipline, whether it's on the field or in the classroom, or just being a guy holding the door for somebody. We used to work out every day at 6 a.m. with the football team in the summer times, and even throughout the week. I think Wednesday mornings and Monday mornings we worked out at 6, and nobody wanted to do it. Everybody hated doing it. But we did it because we didn't want to do it, and because we didn't want to do it is why we got better every day. And that's the same thing I do now. I wake up at 5 or 4:30 a.m. to work out at 5 because I don't want to do it. And I know that when it's a grinding or grueling season in the 9th inning, and I don't want to be out there grinding, that those 5 a.m. workouts are going to help me continue to grind and continue to be the best I can be every day, and every second that I'm playing or doing whatever I got to do, even if it's off the field. I know that those workouts, and me not wanting to wake up and me pushing through that will help me get through the day, no matter what's in front of me.
And there's other guys out there, even though they're really good at their craft, they're not 4:30 wake-up guys and 5 o'clock workout guys, and I know that goes through your mind when you're doing it at that time. Sure. I'm getting better, I'm outworking somebody, and that's what it takes to get to the level that this guy has gotten to.
Everyone at that level is talented. That's why they're at that level. But what's going to be the difference? It's the dedication. It's the attention to detail. It's the it that coaches always talk about within a player that makes that difference. That's the difference, I'm sure, between guys that get to AA and AAA and don't quite make it, to the guys that go on and succeed and become everyday players in Major League Baseball.
And it doesn't matter what you're doing. Like Ryan. Ryan, you're an example of that as well. You live in Virginia. You drive 3 hours to come do the broadcast of Villanova football. You come in with charts and charts and charts of information because of your attention to detail. So regardless of whether you're trying to do something, as an athlete or anything like that, fan man, you possess those same characteristics within your world of what you're doing, and we truly appreciate everything that you do for our program.
Well, I appreciate that, Coach, and I'll give you a 30-second story. When I was doing student radio, I broadcast a game in 1991 at Bucknell. And I went up there, and I thought I was prepared to do the game for the student radio. And I got up there, and I realized about 3 plays into the game that I was not prepared to do a play-by-play game. And the feeling that I had after I came back to campus, one of my buddies said, I thought you wanted to be a broadcaster. That was awful. And I remember that feeling, and I was like, I will never, ever not be prepared for a game again in my life. And I had to learn, because you have to go through things. I didn't even know what it was to be prepared. But that lesson I learned in college literally ingrained in me that I will never be not fully prepared for a broadcast anytime I ever get a chance to do a Villanova game again. And real quick, I just wanted to say one last thing about Matt. When Villanova football lost on the Bosco Williams Hail Mary in 2008 at home, and then later on that year lost that crushing game to end the year at JMU and lost to JMU twice in 2008. There's no doubt through that adversity, in my opinion, built the resiliency and the determination for that team to win the championship the next year. And in 2009, we went to JMU in the regular season and won 27-0. And I remember leaving there saying, this team's going to win a national championship this year.
Yeah, man, I remember those games. I remember Pim taking his helmet off in the end zone. Like, man, what are we doing?
Right. That was
but
the playoff game.
Yeah, like you said, man, that year for us, that 2009 year was you know, we didn't think we were going to lose any, and I still can't believe we lost to New Hampshire by 1. You know, it's you know, and even in the Eastern Washington game in that final year, you know, we could have won that game easily. We had just way too many turnovers. Like, even without me, we would have been fine if we just, you know, didn't turn the ball over.
Yeah, the good thing is Matt would have had 3 or 4 weeks, well, 2.5 to 3 weeks to get healthy.
Right.
Because the games, you know, the championship games in the middle of January.
Because they moved
the first week of January, instead of playing the next week.
That was the first year they moved it. Hey, Rye, before we go to break here, this is going to be Matt's last section here because he's got to get on the road and head back home to Cape May. Yep. Can you give us a signature Matt Caesar call, finishing with your, you know, standard call at the end of all the great Cats victories? Can you throw one out there for us?
Matt Caesar. Now, I wasn't doing play-by-play, so I'll have to do this off the top of my head. But 10-0 William Mary leads. Third quarter action. National semifinal tonight at Villanova Stadium on a cold winter December night with a trip to Chattanooga on the line. The Wildcats need to get something going. In the Wildcat formation is Caesar. He gets it up the middle. He explodes through the middle. 50, 40, 35, 30, 25, 20. Caesar, 10-5, touchdown. The Wildcats have come back, and they trail 10-6. The extra point coming, and Villanova is right back in this game on semifinal Friday night on the main line.
There you go. There you go.
That's awesome.
I've heard about the play clock running out before you got that playoff. All right, you got to fast forward to the end of the game. Like, Matt's in victory formation, just took a knee.
Folks, this is incredible. One of the greatest victories in Villanova football history. The final score tonight from Villanova Stadium. Villanova 14, their longtime conference rival William and Mary 13. The Tribe is heading 95 South home to Williamsburg for the year, and the Wildcats are moving on to Chattanooga for a chance to take on the Montana Grizzlies in the national championship game. Cats win, Cats win, Cats win. Bring on the Grizzlies. Good night, everybody.
All right, Ryan, we're going to say good night. That was pretty good. Yeah, that was good. That was Matt. Thanks so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to get a chance to meet you, talk to you a little bit. Best of luck. I know you're getting ready. You're a free agent now, and you're getting ready to head to spring training in the spring, and best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Tell everybody home we said hello. Natalie's here. We already said hello to her, and please tell your folks we said hi.
For sure. Thanks, guys.
Right, so we're going to take a quick break. It's Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Back with more after this on 610 ESPN. Welcome back to Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. We still have Ryan Fannin joining us on the line. We just had a great 3 segments with Matt Caesar. And Coach, a little bit about Matt in terms of, like, that's the kind of people that this program attracts, just quality people, and his wife Natalie's here. And it was just it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, Matt's great and great people. And, he's living back down where he grew up in, Cape May. And, a lot of athletes do that, but some of them don't. They go on to different areas and bigger and better things, so to speak. And, he's a hometown guy and he's a loyal guy and he loves being home with his family, his parents and everything. And, we really wish him well. And I know we just built a new home, he and Natalie, down there in the Cape May area. So we wish them very best for that as well. And that just goes to show you, like you said, the camaraderie and the team chemistry and the bonds that you built when you're at the collegiate level. And, we talk to our guys about that all the time. Your teammates are going to be the best men in your weddings, those types of things. You're going to have lifelong friendships. And, he obviously stated that when he was on.
And, Rod, we have you on. And a lot of guys, we were teasing you a little bit, having you do plays and call plays and memories from games. But talk a little bit, Rod. You've been doing this at your alma mater since you graduated. You mentioned you get a call 2 months after your graduation to start doing Villanova football. I guess talk to me a little bit of some of the memories that aren't related to the game, some of the relationships you've been able to make, some of the people you've met, some of the funny road trip stories. Give us a couple of quick stories, right, about what the opportunity to be the color man for many years and now the play-by-play person for Villanova football.
I think the thing that I always feel the most grateful for is guys like Coach Talley and Coach Ferrante and Coach Lapis and Coach Wright, and how they have always allowed our radio crew to travel with the team, be part of the team. I can't imagine any college that gives the kind of access. I'll give you an example. Like every Friday since 1993, or Saturday if it's like a night game on Saturday, the offensive and defensive coordinators for Villanova have given our radio crew 45 minutes per coordinator every week to get ready for a game. If you look at some of the schools out there, coaches might give guys 5 or 10 minutes of their time. That's the thing I've always been most amazed, but I think off the field is the kind of support, family, friendships, and just the access that the Villanova football and Villanova basketball programs have given myself and other members of our radio crew to just see that inside and be as prepared as we can be. And I think being a Villanova alum and having had the opportunity to do these games all these years, it's why I love it. And, people say, wow, you live in Virginia. I'm like, it's like a labor of love. I don't even think about driving 2.5, 3 hours because this is what I've always wanted to do. And it's what I've had the opportunity to do for this long. And it's just grateful is probably the word I would say the most, I feel.
Now, right, this week, it's probably, obviously, Maine was our furthest trip, but we charter flight up there, so it wasn't a bad trip. This is probably our furthest bus trip of the year. This is a home game for you. That's what I was just going to say. How long is it going to take you to get to Richmond from where you are?
It's about a 90-minute drive. I mean, literally, that's it. And I always try to travel around the crazy D.C. traffic time. So make sure. So I think I'm going to head down on Friday night and then get a chance to meet with the coordinators on Saturday morning, with it being a 3 o'clock game on Saturday. But yeah, it's been interesting being a Virginia guy all these games, all these years against William & Mary and James Madison and Richmond. It's a short commute, so definitely makes it easier. But again, wherever the Cats are, I'm always just excited to get to the next game and get a chance to prepare and get ready for the next game. And, chance for Villanova's winning season still alive with a big November. And just can't wait to call another game on Saturday.
Well, we really appreciate you joining us tonight. And have a great call on Saturday. And we look forward to hearing you on the radio Saturday afternoon as the Wildcats take on the Richmond Spiders. And, Coach, we're going to take a quick break. We'll kind of close it out. We'll talk about those Richmond Spiders that the Wildcats will take on this Saturday. It's Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Back with more after this on 610 ESPN. Welcome back to Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. And coaches, we get ready for Saturday's game with the Richmond Spiders. We talk about it every week. Another CAA battle as you guys head down 95 to take on a Richmond team that's been coming on as of late, playing a little better football. They obviously lost Kyle Laletta to the NFL, a fourth-round pick of the New York Giants, so starting a little bit over on offense. But tell us a little bit about the Richmond Spiders.
You had to get your Giants plug in there, right?
Yeah, he was going to start probably next week and got himself in trouble today, so I don't think that's going to happen.
I gotcha. Yeah, no, Richmond, I mean, I heard Russ talk on the phone the other day when we have our conference call, and, their season sounds like it's gone a little similar to ours, to be honest with you. They played a couple different quarterbacks. They're very skillful, and I said the same thing last week when we were getting prepared and watching film on New Hampshire. Their record was not indicative of what you're watching on film, and I can say the same thing about Richmond here. They have real good guys up front in their defensive line. Their linebacker core is experienced, and they have a good experience there. I would say the most inexperienced part of their defense right now, I guess, is in their secondary. I think they have a redshirt freshman starting and a couple of younger guys back there, but they seem really stout up front. They've done a great job, with their defense. And then on offense, their offensive line looks very talented. They look like they have great size. They have 2 or 3 really good wide receivers. Brissett, their number one guy coming into preseason, he hasn't played the last couple weeks, and then the other 2 guys have done a great job. One of them is averaging 15 yards of completion. The other one's averaging 18 yards of completion. So they'll put the ball down the field. And then they, like I said, have been playing a couple different quarterbacks. Mancuso, the one they're playing with as of late, is something like 6'4", 220-pound guy, and he also runs the ball. And then they have a running back that we faced in a number of years. So they seem to be a really good, and I know they're a well-coached team. And, just snake bit a little bit here and there with some of the games that they haven't been able to, come away with the victories. Their record's the same as ours right now. They're 3-5. We're in the same situation. And as Russ said on the conference call the other day, we seem to be in a similar mode right now. We're not making the big play. They've made some plays, but, you're not getting that block, punt, scoop, and score that we talked about earlier where some other opponents against us have gotten those types of plays. So, it's, again, it doesn't matter, and I tell our players all the time, you can't look at the records. It doesn't matter who we're playing against. You have to be prepared week in and week out within this league. And if you're not, you could get knocked off, and, you're not going to come out on top of things. And we found that out in a hurry last week. So we have to be able to get on a bus. It's going to be a 4+ hour ride. We're going to leave Friday morning and travel down there and practice on the way, and then get into the hotel, and then it's a 3:30 game, so we have to make sure we get up in the morning with our legs underneath us, because sometimes those bus trips take a little bit out of you, and we have to go out there and execute at a much better way than we did last week fundamentally. We have to just bring back to the fundamentals, and I know I've said this before, but that's kind of what we lacked last week, as we talked about. Keep your feet on your tackles. Keep your eyes up on your tackles, Catch the ball. Hang on to the ball if you're the running back. You make the block on offense. Hold your gap on defense and so on. And, they're very disciplined as well. And, we have to go down there and just try to out-execute the opponent and, see if we can come out on top of this thing.
Coach, that'll wrap it up. A little quick programming note. We're going to be back here next Monday night. Head basketball coach Jay Wright will be joining us here at the Green Turtle. The men's basketball season kicks off on Tuesday night, so we'll be here next Monday night from 7 to 8. And, Coach, best of luck as you take on the Richmond Spiders this week. That wraps up Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante live from the Green Turtle. Thanks to Joe Gaines and studio engineer Ryan Lennox. This Saturday, Cats travel to play the Richmond Spiders. Game time is 3 o'clock. We'll be on the air with our pregame show at 2:45. For head coach Mark Ferrante, this is Steve Pannone. Have a good night. This is 610 ESPN.